For those of you that don't know me, my name's John Holyoake. I work for Tamaki Redevelopment Company. I've got two of my colleagues here today with me, Tracy Wadsworth, who's the General Manager of Asset and Development, so all things building houses and placemaking. And we've also got Rachel Cole, who works as part of the procurement team as a advisor on requirements and helping to manage the whole procurement process. We've also got a number of other colleagues in the room today, so thanks for coming out and giving your support. People from our steering group that are helping with the procurement process as well, so it's great to have everyone here today. But of course, most importantly, it's great to see all our potential partners in the room. They're going to help us to make Tamaki an awesome place to live. So welcome. We're going to be sharing the responsibility today. I'm just going to give you a quick overview. Now, I appreciate that there's a number of people in the room that have heard some of this presentation before. Some people in the room that have been out to this very venue and heard some of the same messages. I think it's important that we repeat some of those messages to remind you about what's important to us, but also for the people that haven't heard them before. It isn't just the same presentation though. We've been working really hard over the last 6 months to refine the opportunity that we want to talk to you about today. I think we're much closer to be able to answering a lot of questions that we would have struggled 6 months ago. So we're going to be much more definite about the opportunity that we're offering for developers and investors today. So just kick off with a nice picture of Tamaki, because you can't really see it out the window today. We had a helicopter up a couple of weeks ago doing some flyovers and aerials for us, so we're going to turn that into marketing and engagement material. So you see a little bit of that coming through on the presentation. I think everyone knows that Auckland's a city on the move. It's great opportunities across Auckland in terms of employment, jobs, it's same as employment, housing. It's a great place to live. With that sort of opportunity and a city that's quite vibrant comes challenges as well. And one of the really obvious challenges in the space is housing. Tamaki, which is right in the middle of Auckland, provides an amazing opportunity to contribute to Auckland, but most importantly to contribute to the well-being of the people that live in the area. So that's what we want to talk about today. Everyone probably knows where Tamaki is by now. We've spoken about it. Some of you might have had to have driven through it to get here today. It's a long way from the CBD. Just to be clear, the area that we're talking about is the suburbs of Glen Innes, Point England and Panmure. They pretty much outline our rohi, our area that we're responsible for. Tamaki is a great opportunity in terms of its location. It's 10 minutes from the CBD if you go by train. It's 2 minutes from shopping. It's 25 minutes, Steve, to the airport, around about-ish. It's got great access to beaches and fantastic amenities in the CBD. So in terms of opportunity, in terms of the change that we want to make, it's all there. Just a little bit about the history of Tamaki. And a little bit about the place itself. 880 hectares, huge area for us that we're responsible for. 170 hectares, or probably just about half of the residential space is currently used for social housing. So that's the housing that was previously owned and managed by Housing New Zealand that was transferred to TRC on the 1st of April. Now, the interesting thing about Tamaki is that you'll probably know the vast majority of the houses are small, 80 square metre houses on quite big lots. So we see the potential across the area on average to triple the number of houses that we own. So what we're looking at doing in the area is pulling down about 2,500 houses and replacing those with 7,500. Tracy will speak a little bit more about how that looks from a project perspective. But I think the other important perspective to understand is that we're going to be doubling the population of Tamaki. So there's currently about 8,000 people in there. If we keep to plan and double the number of houses by tripling the houses that we own, we'll end up with twice the number of people living in the area. A really key point in that for us is making sure that we work really closely with other government and social sector agencies to make sure that they're keeping pace with the changes we move through. So 170 hectares of social housing, as I said, 150 hectares of parks and reserves, 11 existing schools. That includes 10 primary schools, includes one high school. All of the primary schools decile 1. It tells you something about the socioeconomic situation of the area that we're living in, and therefore the opportunity that we have in terms of creating something special for the place. Could stand here all day and talk about stats around hospitalisation, unemployment, crime. They all give a very similar picture in terms of way below average for Auckland and New Zealand. 2 town centres, Panmure, welcome Chris, and of course Glen Innes down across the road from the train station. Train station serves both Glen Innes and Panmure town centres very, very well. This train station at Glen Innes is directly across the road, and it's about a 2-minute walk from Panmure down into the town centre. A little bit about us. We're owned by government and Crown jointly, shareholders, so a very good relationship. The Council and Crown have got a shareholders agreement, a constitution that sits over the top of our organisation. Very clear about expectations of we want to achieve, and I guess in the case of this project, very clear about the mandate to undertake the development that I've been talking about. 2,800 houses transferred to us on the 1st of April this year, as I've already mentioned. That not only gives us the opportunity to have access to the properties and the land and to undertake the development, it also gives us the opportunity to have greater access and closer relationship with the families that live in the properties. Really, really important for us and everyone else to understand that while the redevelopment of such a large portfolio provides for significant housing and the opportunity to impact housing supply in Auckland, it also gives us that opportunity to work very closely with families. Ultimately, we've got a commitment to everyone that currently lives in Tamaki that they can stay in Tamaki if they're affected by the change. So that means we won't be moving state tenants out of the area, they'll be staying in Tamaki. That provides, as I said, some challenges for us in terms of our program and our phasing for the development, but the opportunity that it brings in terms of the other outcomes that we want to achieve is significant. So understanding those families, working with them, walking into a house and understanding what a family's aspirations are, understanding why people aren't in employment, providing opportunities for employment for them through the relationships that we hold with our development partners and other suppliers, understanding why people are sick and how we can fix that through the provision of warm, dry, great housing, replacing the housing that is well past its use-by date at the moment. So, you know, we're not unrealistic about what we're trying to achieve. We're also very realistic about what we can control and measure. So when we talk about fixing unemployment rates, we're contributing to that. This is a regeneration project, it's not a housing project. We'll make sure that people are employed locally in terms of this project, but ultimately we can't be responsible for unemployment rates across Tamaki. Likewise, we can provide warm homes, but we can't ultimately be responsible for hospitalisation rates and how people are affected. It's about us doing our piece. It's about our partners, including investors, tenancy property management partners, and of course developers doing their piece as well. So the relationships that we want to build are a key part of that. Just before I hand over to Tracy, I spoke a little bit about the process that we've already gone through, and I just want to follow that through. As I said, we've had a number of engagements. We've also had a number of engagements with individual organisations over the last few months. People have knocked on our door. We're always happy to talk to people about the process and what we're trying to achieve. And that's going to continue. Today for us is just another engagement. You'll notice that we're actually filming this event today. That's so that we can provide exactly the same information to anyone else that couldn't make it today. We'll put it up on our website, so if people want to review that information. We'll also have the Q&As being filmed as well, so that exact same information will go up on our website. So I'm going to hand over to Tracy, and she's going to talk to you a little bit more about the actual opportunity that we're going out to procurement for in the next little while.
For us, the priority here is about optimising the use of the land we've got, the existing housing stock, to support and deliver both social and economic results for Tamaki. This for us also includes moving forward with private housing development, as well as creating better public housing options for our community. So the proposition is for us to take 2,500 of our existing 2,800 houses and redevelop those to create approximately 7,500 new homes over a 15-year time horizon. We're also seeking to diversify the ownership and management of the social housing by implementing an alternate investment strategy with long-term ownership and management of those houses. So why are we here today? We're focusing today on phase one. Phase one for us is taking 1,000 of those existing 2,500 houses and converting them into approximately 2,500 mixed tenure dwellings. For this, we're seeking a development partner who will be responsible for the design, the delivery and the sale of the housing, and an investment partner to take long-term ownership and management of the rebuilt social housing. That's approximately 1,300 new houses. And the reason why we go from 1,000 existing up to 1,300 new social housing is that we are delivering approximately 300 new houses through our Catalyst program, and many of you in the room today are involved in that program with us. So our expectation is that the investment partner will take responsibility for those already newly built social homes. So what does it look like on the ground? So phase one for us is very much North Tamaki. Point England Road effectively becomes our notional boundary between North Tamaki and South Tamaki. Phase one for us is a stage in 2 stages, stage 1 here and stage 2 in up around Laybond Circle. Stage 1 for us is approximately 800 existing homes, with a further 200 homes to be available in stage 2. Those further 200 homes in stage 2 will be subject to achieving KPIs from our development partner. So you've got an automatic right to participate in stage 1, and subject to some KPIs, you'll be given the rights to continue into stage 2. Just by way of information, when I talk about the Catalyst projects, these orange neighbourhoods here, Fenchurch and Overley, are where work is commencing at the moment, and if many of you have been through the suburb, you'll notice that there's a significant amount of earthworks and construction underway already. As you can see, close proximity to Auckland CBD, well served by public transport, fantastic green spaces and amenity. Quite interestingly, you can actually see the Catalyst programs underway at the moment, and all within close proximity to the Tamaki River. I think we picked the perfect day to get that footage done. So we see this very much as a partnership, and we see ourselves having an active role but focusing on the areas where we add most of the value. This for us includes establishing the initial master planning and the initial to enable the infrastructure agreements to be developed and agreed with council and other service authorities. We've done a high-level master plan, the Tamaki reference plan, and it's in the process of being considered by Auckland Council and will very soon be available on the website. In addition, we're finalising an infrastructure funding framework agreement with Auckland Council. This establishes the basis upon which developer contributions and the local component of the developer contributions will be reinvested back into Tamaki. So we are agreeing with Council a process, protocols and a schedule, a high-level schedule of works that will need to be delivered in order to create the amenity, the future amenity for Tamaki. We've also agreed a memorandum of understanding with Watercare to establish the principles and the responsibilities for who is going to upgrade the water and sewer infrastructure. So basically who pays for what. In addition, as part of our procurement process, we'll be running an initial framework consenting process in parallel. This will focus on infrastructure delivery and bulk and location of the housing, and this will enable our partners to commence works as soon as possible, whilst they're still seeking the next level of consenting around the housing delivery. We're also focused at the moment on strategic land acquisitions. This for us is key around unlocking early rehousing opportunities. The pace of development will be driven very much by the ability to rehouse our existing tenants. So we want to be able to ensure that the development can proceed at pace. The rehousing piece is very much in our camp. So the rehousing of existing tenants we see as part of the development program, but certainly our responsibility. In addition to that, we will be defining the social housing brief on a neighbourhood by neighbourhood basis as we move through the development. The other thing we've been very focused on at the moment is developing the commercial principles and the capacity contract that will drive the social housing investment piece with MSD. So this is for us to be able to provide to our development and investment partners the confidence around how much you'll get paid for social housing and the conditions upon which it will be made available. The other key thing for us is we've spent a lot of time building the Tamaki brand. We have a great reputation in the community and we think that this brand can be built on with our partners jointly in the ongoing marketing of Tamaki. So what do we expect you guys to do? As we mentioned, we've done the high-level master planning, but we expect that you will get down into the detail of the master planning for the neighbourhoods, with a focus on creating world-class urban design outcomes for our newly created neighbourhoods. The delivery of 7,500 houses overall, 2,500 houses in stage 1, of quality houses in a blind tenure, mixed tenure model, as well as the delivery of public domain and associated infrastructure. As part of the broader regeneration outcomes we're seeking, we'll need to focus on enhancing amenity within the neighbourhoods, and we see you participating in creating healthier, safer and well-connected communities. We'll also be expecting that you go above and beyond that in terms of delivering placemaking activities. So it's not just about creating the place, but it's also about how you create the communities and create that cohesion within the community. Finally, we're expecting that our development and investment partners will be marketing and selling new housing product. On the investment side, our partners will be responsible for ownership and management of social housing assets for a 25-year period. This model currently considers a 25-year ground lease. Subject to being the properties being available, MSD will pay a market rent for our partner. They will also have ongoing asset management responsibility, both reactive and planned maintenance, and therefore whole of life outcomes will be an important factor in the delivery of the newly built social housing. Our partner will also have ongoing tenancy management responsibility, and Rachel will talk a little bit more about the procurement process around that. But certainly the selection of a preferred community housing provider partner will be done jointly with TRC towards the latter stage of this procurement process. On the social and economic regeneration outcome side, there needs to be a strong alignment of our values collectively and a commitment to achieving those broader objectives. So to this end, we'll be expecting that our partners will commit to employment and training of local workforce, with targets to be established and form part of the KPIs within the development agreement. We'll be seeking for you to support and assist the growth of social enterprises wherever possible. At a development level, we'll be seeking best practice in design and delivery of the housing and the establishment of healthy and cohesive neighbourhoods. We'll also be expecting that you work alongside of us in delivering and communicating with the community, delivering outcomes to the community and consultation with the community. So we expect you to be standing shoulder to shoulder with us in that consultation process. So where are our shared focuses? The acquisition of missing teeth within the development. We're already are being approached by owners within the area about buying up their properties, and we're reviewing those on the basis of where they add value to the development or where it makes sense for us to actually purchase them. So one of the things I think that's important is that we're out there in the neighbourhood every day. As part of our rehousing process, we're not only talking to our tenants, but we're also talking to the broader community. And quite often you'll find that private residents, when they understand what's happening, want to come and talk to us further and even consider selling of their houses and even buying into a new development. We've spent a considerable amount of time and energy and resource building rapport with the community. So we certainly see that we have a very shared focus. We'll continue to be standing there alongside of you as we move through the development phase. We think we can add some real value in that community engagement program. And finally, I think understanding our community as well as we do can also help in identifying what are those placemaking activities and how can we best deliver the cohesion that's required in any new community. I'm now going to hand over to Rachel, who's going to talk a little bit more about the procurement.
So I'm going to be taking you through the procurement process that we'll be undertaking to find a partner to help us deliver the exciting opportunity that John and Tracy have just taken you through. So in the coming months, we're going to be releasing an EOI invitation to the market. And in that invitation, we're going to be asking for expressions of interest from consortia comprising a development partner and an investment partner. You've heard Tracy talk about the scale of the development that we've got ahead of you. So what I'd like you to do is consider who you might need to form relationships with, who you might need to go into partnership with to be able to deliver at the scale that we're looking for. What like-minded entities are there out there who can complement and strengthen what you bring to the table? Alongside the development partner, we're going to be looking for an investment partner to own and manage the 1,300 social houses that are being rebuilt as part of the development and the Catalyst projects. We're looking for a full solution in that space, so the investment partner is going to be responsible for tenancy management services, facilities management services and asset management. But in this procurement, we'll be looking for you to come with a solution around facilities management and asset management. The selection of tenancy management services, a community housing provider, will be undertaken in a separate procurement, and as Tracy mentioned, that's going to be jointly run by TRC and the successful consortium. So we're looking for the respondent that obviously delivers the best solution against TRC's objectives. For us, that's about delivering the optimal result in terms of achieving the outcomes that we're looking for, the outcomes that John spoke to, giving us confidence that you're going to be able to build at the scale and the pace that we require, and delivering value for money for Crown. This is genuinely an outcomes-based procurement. We are not going to be overly prescriptive, and you are going to have plenty of opportunity to differentiate yourself, both in terms of the expertise and the experience that you bring and your ability to innovate. So to give you an example around that, we're not going to be going out to the market with a highly detailed prescriptive social housing specification. We know what we need for our families here in Tamaki. They need warm, dry houses. They need homes that are efficient to run. They need homes and neighbourhood design that enable them to form meaningful connections with the people around them to enable communities to grow. It's going to be your job to tell us how you're going to build those homes, how you're going to create those neighbourhoods. So I'd encourage you to think about what advice and expertise you need around social housing and regeneration. So, relatively standard two-stage procurement, going out to the market initially with an invitation for expression of interest. We'll be looking to shortlist 3 respondents from that process. Then we move into our RFP phase. I think the 5-month timeframe there is realistic given the complexity of the project that we have ahead of us. We'll be using an interactive tender process. That's going to be a really critical element for you to test and refine your solutions with us. We're really well supported. We've got Audit New Zealand as our probity auditor, and we've got Bell Gully, Simon Watt, here in the room as our probity advisor to make sure that we run a fair and transparent process. So as we've mentioned today, we're being filmed, and that's all as part of the transparency that we want to create around what we're doing. So finally, looking at timeframes, we expect to go out with the EOI in the coming months. As Tracy said, it's really important to us that we build a platform for success for this procurement. So we've got 2 critical enabling pieces of work that we need to get across the line. So the infrastructure funding agreement, framework funding agreement, as Tracy mentioned, this is tripartite agreement between TRC, Auckland Council and Auckland Transport, and it provides certainty from Auckland Council around funding of community infrastructure in Tamaki. We're in a really good place in terms of how this work is developed, and we're very close to having that signed in the coming weeks. As Tracy said, we've actually already signed the MOU with Watercare, which is an agreement between TRC and Watercare around the funding and delivery of potable and wastewater here in Tamaki. So once the EOI is released, we expect to be shortlisting consortia in late 2016, selecting a preferred respondent towards the end of 2017, and that will be the point at which we're undertaking the selection of the community housing provider. We expect to achieve contractual close in late 2017. On behalf of John, Tracy and myself, I just wanted to thank you for making the time to come out and meet with us today, particularly on such a wet and gloomy Auckland day. I hope that you leave here really genuinely excited with the opportunity that's ahead of us. Tamaki is a beautiful, fantastic suburb in Auckland. The vision that we've got for this project is huge. The aspirations that we have for the families living here will change their lives, and they'll change lives for generations to come. We really welcome you to come and be a part of creating that legacy. I hope that you leave here today thinking about who you need to pick up the phone to, where you may already have existing relationships, where you need to reach out and get in touch with people. I hope that ideas are already sparking around how you're going to differentiate yourself, where you've got the ability to innovate, and how you're going to demonstrate to us that you're completely aligned with the regeneration outcomes that we're seeking. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Questions from the floor? I think we've got a couple of microphones that are available.
Can you just comment, I think in Tracy's presentation, she commented on the social housing piece being a 25-year investment opportunity. What happens at the end of the 25 years?
There's a decision to be made by MSD around whether they want to continue to provide social housing in Tamaki. If that's the case, they'll be looking for an extension to the 25-year investment piece. If they're not, then there'll be a sale of the assets, and there will need to be a divvy up of proportions to the investment and back to Crown vis-a-vis the land.
And just to clarify, that won't be a unilateral right in terms of MSD being able to effectively demand an extension of the contract. So the first step in the process is, do we still require social housing in Tamaki? If the answer to that question is yes, then we'll go into a conversation with investor to see if there's a willingness to extend the contract. If there isn't, then we move into deciding how we dispose of the assets.
Do you have a value that you'll put against the existing 300 dwellings?
Those 300 dwellings are still being delivered, so can we pinpoint an exact value today? No, we can't. Can I answer this another way? And this may sound a little bit flippant. So how much does it cost to buy a house in Tamaki? Multiply that by 300.
Hi. Can you give us any commentary on the later stages?
Are you talking about phase 2? So phase 2 will be a separate procurement process, and sorry, I should have raised this earlier. Phase 2 is a separate procurement process that's probably going to commence about 18 months to 24 months down the track from the start of this process. There's nothing, provided our stage 1 developer / investment partner is working well, there's nothing to preclude them from participating in the subsequent procurement.
One question to that is, do you see the two stages running parallel to each other at any point, or do you see the stage 1 being complete before you start stage 2?
Within phase 1, stage 1 and stage 2 could be completed concurrently, but there needs to be a period of time for us to be able to assess our partners against some KPIs to give them the right to proceed to stage 2.
I think the other really key thing there in terms of the schedule, the program that we're looking at to understand is the need to rehouse. So it's a huge dependency on that schedule. We're not going to, as I said before, the Tamaki commitment means that we're not going to be moving people out that want to stay in Tamaki. So to be simultaneously undertaking two very large developments is probably quite testing for us.
Is the MSD going to guarantee the IRRS for the full 25 years?
Yeah, they are. So we've, as Rachel said, we've already done quite a lot of work with MSD. We have got them committed to 25 years. The actual amount of money that they'll need to pay needs to worked out. It does need to be commercially viable for the investment partner, and we won't be able to finalise that until we actually know what the investment partners are demanding. But we have done a lot of work in that space.
Can you tell us if the Tamaki promise extends to people living in the house or people on the tenancy register?
It can only, at this stage, it can only extend to the people that are on the tenancy agreement, because those are the only people that we're aware of. Of course, MSD are the people that decide whether people should be in a social house or not. I think, Pat, as we're working through any rehousing process, it's not going to be in anyone's interest to not address the fact that there are other families, or address overcrowded and underutilised houses at the same time. So I think it's on us, TRC, to be able to refer those sorts of situations through to MSD and work together to make sure we get a good solution for those families.
Hi, one more question. Have you got any thoughts as to the valuation transfer mechanisms from the development company to the investment company, other than traditional market value?
We would see that as very much a contractual relationship between the developer and the investor. We don't necessarily want to get engaged in that, but what we do want to see, obviously, is that there is value for money being achieved. Do you want to answer that, Daniel?
Is TRC open to the suggestion of it not being one development partner, but maybe two or three for phase one?
We're totally open. We're looking for consortia. So I think the key thing is the outcomes that we need to achieve. But we'll be looking to contract with a consortia, which includes the developer and the investor.
Do you have expectations about how many houses, both market and social, get delivered on an annual basis?
Well, I think we're going to need to work through the actual deliverability of any program with the development partner. And as I said before, one of the key constraints around that is the rehousing. We do need to be building ahead of the demolition process to be crass. I think the first stage that we would see. But we're probably talking about two to 300 houses a year, I think, in the large development in that sort of area. As obviously, with the commitment that we've made, the same number of houses are going to be returned to social housing. So a third of the houses will come back. Now, that's not going to be absolutely static across all the developments, because as Tracy and Rachel spoke, we were looking for mixed tenure as well. Currently, in the first precinct that we're looking at, we own very, very high percentages of social housing. So you would see less coming back to get that better ratio for the community.
Hi, just a second question around the affordable housing aspect of this. Is that a proportionate target that you're looking for here, or how do you want to see that presented?
We'll be clear about that through the process, but I think there's obviously some things that we have to do. We need to make sure that we're delivering against the commitment that we'll have with council in terms of market affordable, depending on how that lands in the unitary plan process in the next month or so. The key thing for us in affordable housing is about making sure that there's a continuum. So at the moment, in a lot of communities, you have social housing and you have market priced housing, and there's no stepping stones for families to move along that continuum. So we want to understand how people can get out of social housing into market rental that is affordable to them, and then at the other end of the continuum, where people are actually getting into some sort of assisted affordable home ownership situations. So there's different ways of achieving that. For TRC, our definition of affordable housing is that no family spending more than around about 30% of their gross household income on housing costs. It's a pretty well used formula. We're currently looking at how we can achieve that through the both sides of the equation. How do we achieve it through demand? So what sort of processes can we put in place to support families? whether those are subsidies, whether they are wraparound services, whether they are financial capability, case management, working with families really closely over a long period of time to get them into a better financial position. But of course, we'll also be looking for our development partners to understand what products they can bring, innovative products that they can bring through the development to achieve affordable housing. We know what we want to achieve. We'll be looking for our partners to help us resolve that.
Can you tell us what the Ministry of Education plans for the whole area, and are you working in lockstep with them?
Yeah, I can. Well, to an extent. We're working, what we have done in very recent times in the last couple of months is done extensive work around population projections for Tamaki. As I said at the beginning of the presentation, we know that we're going to be doubling the population, but what does that look like? We've done a lot of work in that space to understand who's going to be there. The next step is really to understand more about what those families and people living in the area are going to demand. So we've just kicked off a project to take that population projection and get alongside other agencies. Our first priority is the Ministry of Education, but we're also interested in ADHB, police, other local amenities that are going to need to be there to serve the new community or changing community. So doing quite a lot of work with MOE at the moment. MOE are currently writing their strategic plan for Auckland as a whole in terms of future demand. And as part of that planning, we're discussing with them, and they are paying particular interest to the future demand for Tamaki. So to say we've done that work would be inaccurate, but we're progressing it, and we've got a plan to achieve that probably over the next 6 months or so.
Tracy, you mentioned about the outcome of the facility management being a CHP partner, for the tenancy management. Are you going to be clear in the RFP process as to what defines a CHP's role in tenancy management versus case management?
Yeah. The short answer to that is yes.
I think yes, and just to expand on that a little bit, it's about tenancy and property management. I think a lot of the case management stuff, the opportunity in that space is really around the rehousing. That's where we see as the greatest opportunity to leverage off a positive move in a family's life to actually create other opportunities for them. TRC, it makes sense to us that TRC remains responsible for that rehousing process. Rachel's already said thank you, but I'll say it as well. Thank you very much. I think Rachel and Tracy did a really good job of outlining the opportunity for you. I hope it's becoming clearer. As I said, we've done a lot of work, and it's becoming clearer for us every day as well as we work through what is an incredibly complex project. We are incredibly excited about this, and it doesn't always come across when you're standing in front of a big group of people, but I'm very excited, very passionate about this opportunity. Not just the building opportunity that it's easy to think about, and because it is the lever that we've all got, and the value in what we're going to do in the space, which is very, very exciting. As I think as Tracy and Rachel said, we don't have all the answers. We are genuinely looking for partners to come into the space and design and provide amazing outcomes for the people that live in these communities. And that's not just about the housing, it's about making this area safer. It's about reducing crime rates through good design. It's about increasing activity through walkways and bikeways and all those amazing things that you can do as great urban designers. So we're really passionate about that piece of this. But I think, for us, living and working in Tamaki every day, you just can't underestimate the amazing feeling that you get when you walk out into this community. The incredible pride that the people that live there have for their community, and the opportunity that not only do we see, but they see for themselves as well. We're excited, and the community's excited. And as Rachel said, we're really, really keen to have some amazing partners come and work alongside us, as Tracy said, walk shoulder to shoulder with us, and just realise this incredible dream and vision that the community has for themselves. So thank you very much for coming today. We really appreciate it. Rachel said make sure you ring in the right people when you leave the room. Go out there and talk to them. Thank you very much.